All right, good morning, parents. Thank you so much for coming. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Miss Leslie. I'm the head of early years. This workshop this morning really is just to give you a little bit more information about how children learn in the early years, what we do when the children are here with us, and also I'll give you some kind of hints and tips of things that you can do to help support your child at home. And there will be an opportunity as well for you to ask me any questions, either publicly or you can come and find me afterwards. Okay. All right, so, if it's going to work this morning for me? It was working fine earlier. Let's just double check. It was working perfectly in rehearsals. Let me just try it one more time. Let's see. You got it? Okay, it's working now. Okay, all right. Now, this picture, it may seem a little bit strange if you've got a child who's 1 or 2 years old and you're thinking about kind of universities and futures. But actually, believe me, all of the hard work that gets your child ready for university begins the moment they walk through this early years centre. If I just show you this from the World Economic Fund, these are the top 15 skills that employers are going to be looking for in 2025. So if I just identify some of them, analytical thinking, problem solving, creativity, leadership, technology, down at the bottom, persuasion and negotiation. These are some skills that employers and universities are looking for in what they are getting in 2025. Actually, these skills start really, really early on. For all of you who have children yourselves know that actually children's powers of persuasion and negotiation are very good, even when they're very, very young and before they can even talk. And there's lots that we do here in school to kind of develop these skills to get them ready for their future life. Now, I'm not a brain scientist, but I'm very, very keen on child development. And actually what's really interesting for us as educators here is to see what happens with children's brains. And actually everybody talks about the importance of the first 5 years of a child's life, and actually really it can't be underestimated. A child at birth is actually born with all the brain cells, all the neurons in their brain that they will have for the rest of their lives. And actually it's the connections between those brain cells that actually is where all the good learning happens and the brain development happens. And without those connections, we can't think of doing anything. Our communication, our emotional regulation, all of these things are to do with those connections that we build. And if you can see, at birth they have 25, their brain is 25%, and it actually goes up to 92% by the time that they're 5. So there really is a massive amount that's going on in our children's brains from 0 to 5, and that's why it is so important in early years. One of the best ways to build brain connections is actually through something that scientists call serve and return. You'll be doing it all of the time and you won't even realize that you're doing it. What it basically is from the moment that a child is born, they will serve an interaction to you. That could be that they look you in the eye, they might coo, they might point, they might smile. All of these are called serves. And what we need to do as adults is we need to return those serves. We need to look at these cues that our children are giving us and we need to respond to them. It's these serve and return responses that actually build these brain connections and make them strong. So it's very important. And I'm going to show you a little video just from Harvard University which explains a little bit more about serve and return.
The key to forming strong brain architecture is what's known as serve and return interaction with adults.
In this developmental game, new neural connections form in the brain as young children instinctively serve through babbling, facial expressions, and gestures. And adults return the serve, responding in a very directed, meaningful way.
It starts very early in life when a baby coos and the adult interacts and directs the baby's attention to a face or hand.
This interaction forms the foundation of brain architecture upon which all future development will be built. It helps create neural connections between all the different areas of the brain, building the emotional and cognitive skills children need in life. For example, here's how it works for literacy and language skills. When the baby sees an object, the adult says its name. This makes connections in the baby's brain between particular sounds and their corresponding objects. Later, adults show young children that those objects and sounds can also be represented by marks on a page. With continued support from adults, children then learn how to decipher writing and eventually to write themselves. Each stage builds on what came before. Ensuring that children have adult caregivers who consistently engage in serve and return interaction, beginning in infancy, builds a foundation in the brain for all the learning, behavior, and health that follow.
Serve and return isn't just academic, actually, to be honest with you. Our serve and return reactions will help our children know how to respond in social situations, how to self-regulate their emotions, for example. So it really is, our serve and return kind of interactions with children are really key, and it's a really major focus of what we do here in our early years centre. And I'll talk about that now. So these are the things that your child is doing when they come to school. Now, I'm sure if you have children like mine, when you ask them what they do at the end of the day, they probably just say, or play, or nothing. But actually, there's an awful lot that's going on here. And actually, I think the key to kind of good learning is that children don't even realise that they're learning at the time, because it's all done through a fun and interactive way. So one of the things that we do here with your children is we really work upon those serve and return interactions. So we have high quality interactions with your children while they're here with us. So that could be one-to-one. We could be getting involved with them with their role play and building their imaginations. We could be reading text with them. We could be exploring sensory activities. Our staff here are really highly trained to kind of promote those high quality serve and return interactions. We also are really keen on developing your children's language, and I'll talk there's a few different things that we do for this, and I'm just going to show you a few. One thing that we have here is we have a really high quality text-rich environment. So I know all of you walk past the library, and loads of you use the library, which is great. We've got our library, and the children have library sessions. We have our very well-stocked book corners in our classrooms, and our teachers do at least one daily story time a day, if not more. And in fact, we generally do more story times a day. And this is really based on this research. So Ohio State University did a study, and they recognized that if a child, by the age that they turned 5, had never been read to, they knew about 4,500 words. If a child reads 5 books a day by the time that they're 5 years old, they will know 1.4 million words. It's really key for us here that we do lots and lots of story times, and that we don't just read the stories, we discuss them, we look at the words, we use those words within our everyday play and language as well. Oh, and just to say that when you're reading with your children at home as well, you don't need to read in English. Reading in your home language is absolutely fine as well. We want to develop that too, and I can talk a bit more about that in a second. We also use something here called keyword signs. Have any of you heard that we do this before? I think some of you will have done. This is Miss Amy. She's our inclusion manager. She's also a speech and language therapist. And one of the things that we do here to kind of promote language development and second language acquisition is we use keyword signs. So it's not sign language in terms of it's not replacing the words, it's alongside the words as well. So I'll show Miss Amy giving you the action for happy. You're very welcome to join in with her.
Happy. Happy.
Third time. Okay, so you may find that your children might come home at the end of the day. They might give you the sign for milk. They might kind of say hello. We do this in school to help them identify kind of keywords that they'll use every day, and to putting an action to it helps them learn it better. We also here recognise that home language is key. The science used to be, and the research always used to be, that, you know, to learn a new language, you should be immersed in that language and not hear your own home language. That we're moving away from that science. Actually, in order to learn a second language more effectively, you need to have lots of words and language in your home language. So we make sure here that we develop children's home language as much as we develop their English language too, so that children have the words to connect those new language words to build the vocabulary. Because our children here at the age of 2, 3, 4, 5 are still developing their home language. So just learning English and not developing that home language won't give them enough of those neural connections to really understand that new language. So that's something that we do a lot here. Translanguaging might be something that you hear us talking about. Translanguaging simply is that we encourage children who are learning a new language that they can come and speak to us in part of the sentence in their home language and some words in the kind of the second language that they're learning, and that's fine, because that sort of translanguaging process actually develops those language skills even better. Okay, so this is our curriculum. We have changed our curriculum this year. So we've developed it alongside the English National EYFS curriculum, but also we have a bespoke Harrow curriculum too. And we are really doing this to make sure that your children have the skills that they need for the 21st century. So if I show you some of those skills, so remember before I talked about what universities and what employers are looking for in 2025, they were really looking for technology, and we make sure that that's really embedded in our curriculum, that the digital knowledge and awareness is in our curriculum right from our earliest children. We also look at areas with sustainability, because obviously it's a very current topic, and also our international context, cultural identity, heritage and diversity. We've added those extra elements in here to make sure that your children are prepared for those 21st century skills that they'll need. And the ones that are up here and down here in yellow, we call these the disciplines. These are these soft skills that, again, we looked at earlier, those skills of kind of that employers are looking for, motivation and desire to kind of work and learn, their thinking, cognitive development, their creativity, their curiosity and wonder, and their emotional development and well-being. So these are all the skills that we add to our curriculum to make sure that we are learning these soft skills right from an early age. Have any of you heard of high-performance learning? I think hopefully you will have heard that this is something that we embed in our curriculum, and we embed it right from the moment they come into us in Lion Cubs all the way up to when they leave at age 18. And again, the reason why we use this high-performance learning and our thinking skills and our I-rules are really to develop those skills, again, that employers are looking for, those skills of creativity, analysing and thinking. We also have Tapestry. Have you all been using Tapestry? Hopefully you have. Great. Okay. Tapestry is fantastic. It's a really good way of our teachers communicating with you and showing you what your children are interested in, what they're doing in school, how well they're doing at something, and maybe they'll give you some tips of things that you can do to help develop their skills at home as well. It would be fantastic if you could comment or like, and you can actually post your own kind of videos and photos of things that the children are doing at home. That just gives our teachers a really good idea of what they can work on again with the children in class too. So yes, it is a great thing. So if you're not using it, definitely log in and use it. One thing that's really key for us here is independence. If you have a look down at the bottom, our motto is educational excellence for life and leadership. And leadership skills really are strong leaders are those who are independent. And we try to make sure that they're independent right from the earliest age. I tried to find some photos, and actually these are of our youngest learners here in Lion Cubs. Simple things like looking after themselves. So washing hands, putting on socks and shoes and t-shirts, feeding themselves with their cutlery. Those sorts of skills we start off really early. Also tidying up, making sure that if children kind of are playing with the toys that they tidy up afterwards, just making them independent. And also one thing we do is we have lots of resources that are very open-ended, and I'll talk about that in a second, within our classrooms so that children can self-select. So we don't want everyone in our classes producing exactly the same piece of craft. We want our children to have access to all the resources that they can think of in the classroom so that they can use their imaginations to create whatever they want to make. And opportunities to play. We are really proud of our play-based curriculum. And definitely, I know my husband teaches in upper school, and when he comes down to the early years centre, he's like, oh, everyone's having so much fun, they're just playing. And I'm like, no, actually, play is so important. This is where the children are learning everything. They are learning how to communicate. They're learning how to act in social situations. They're rehearsing things that they've seen before and kind of developing those those neural connections within their brains. It looks fun, it is fun, but there's lots and lots of learning taking place too. So I just wanted to show you some pictures of some play. And I'd like you to have a look at the pictures and think, what kind of learning, what kind of skills do you think are taking place here? Because actually, all of those skills we looked at right at the start that employers are looking for, actually our children are doing it right now. So if we look at swimming, for example, there's lots going on here. Obviously, there's the physical development side of things. They're working on their core strength and their gross motor and fine motor skills. They're also learning to listen and pay attention, follow instructions. They're turn-taking with one another. They are risk-taking. They might not be so comfortable with getting their head underneath the water, but they're having a go. So there's lots of key skills that children are learning with when they're doing something like swimming, and it's why we really do put it as a kind of core aspect of our nursery and our swimming and our reception curriculum. When you see the children playing with our open-ended resource of the train, they're using their imagination, they're using their creativity skills. They're also having to negotiate with one another. If you've ever watched children play with each other, actually in both of these photos, where they're working together, so they're collaborating, well, sometimes they don't have the same idea as somebody else. And actually, it's through play that children realise how they can negotiate with others and how they can get along with one another to both have a happy outcome at the end of it. And then we have here the girls who are playing with loose parts. Now, again, to the untrained eye, you might have a look and say, oh, okay, there's a whole load of bottle tops here. I think there might be some fish, maybe, and some kind of pieces of plastic, loose parts, we call them. We might kind of think, oh, well, what are they doing with that? But actually, if you go into a classroom and you ask a child who's doing this, oh, what's this? They will come up with the most amazing thing that they have made in their head. It could be some delicious desserts that they're serving you with all of these wonderful ingredients inside. So actually, the amount of different kind of creative ideas that come from role play. And again, they might be rehearsing things that they've seen you do at home. They've watched you do some cooking and chatting, and they'll be communicating with one another saying, okay, well, you make this one here and we'll bring it over to the teacher over there. Now we need to set the table, and they do it all. So it's really incredible to watch. Now, I'm going to give you some ideas of things that you can do to help at home. One really important thing is sleep. The benefits and the necessary need we have to sleep will help us with our long-term and short-term memory. It helps us to kind of take in all the learning that we've done during the day and build those neural connections. Also, if we're coming into school or if you're going into work and you're tired because you haven't had a good night's sleep, you don't come in possibly not in a good mood. I don't come in a good mood if I've only had a couple of hours of sleep. But you maybe aren't in the best kind of way to learn. So actually the importance of sleep cannot be underestimated. I'll just show you a chart to see how much sleep we actually need. And if we have a look here, we'll focus more on this area here. Actually, children who are 1 to 3 need to sleep between 12 and 14 hours per day. Now, that might also include a nap. So if they slept for 2 hours in their nap time, obviously then the rest would be for their evening and nighttime sleep. And then between 3 and 6, you need between 10 and 12 hours per day as well. So that really means that if we've got a 2 or a 3-year-old coming into school and they're waking up at 7 in the morning, they really need to be going to bed at 7 o'clock at night. And I know that's hard whenever you've got children who don't want to go to sleep, but it is really important because it really does help their brain development and helps them come in ready to learn. I love this photo. I don't know whether any of the parents in this photo are in the class, but this was taken in our playground in nursery and reception. What I talked about earlier on with the serve and return, those basic interactions that you have between you and your child, they are so key. So if all you can do is just connect and talk to your child, then that's great, because that's what children need to build those neural connections. I know that most of you do use the library, but just to remind you of the library opening hours in EYC, you're welcome at any time in the morning or in the afternoon to come and change books. And again, we have a selection of books in the library that are in Thai and also in Mandarin as well. So you can kind of read in any language, it doesn't matter which. Okay, and play. Playing, and in fact, I think I can see Tam there, Mummy, and Junior too, actually. These are some lovely photos just taken from play. Children, when they're interested in something, they'll be really motivated to learn. So it's always really important that you find something that they enjoy playing and just play with them. Actually, it's one of the best parts of our job is just playing with the children and getting involved in their play. I've got some ideas here, and we will share this PowerPoint with you after the session, so you don't need to worry, but you can take a photo if you like. The best type of play really is open-ended play, because that allows them to use their imaginations to really take the play wherever they want. For example, I talked earlier about the loose parts. Having a collection of kind of buttons and sticks and twigs and all kinds of stuff that you can actually collect when you go on a walk. Children can use their imaginations to create pictures with those and use them within their play as well. One of the things that children love to do as well, and it's really easy to do at home, is to freeze objects in ice, or just have different containers with water, and you can add food colouring if you like, and allow them to explore those kind of open-ended resources just with different containers and spoons. You can also use things like rice or pasta as well. Cooked spaghetti is really good for the children to kind of cut up with scissors, etc. Really good for fine motor skills. Open-ended resources using paint, just colour mixing and exploring. In this activity, we put out some tin foil and had some paint, and the children could explore. They start then early mark making as well with those. Collecting recycled materials, so junk modelling. So if you've got yogurt pots, egg cartons, pieces of paper, scrap bits of fabric, they can create models, junk models, or artwork, again using those creative skills. And then down at the bottom, Play-Doh, which is a great thing to make with your children. And something called oobleck. Has anyone heard of oobleck before? It's amazing, so good. It's basically corn flour or tapioca flour, which you can get in 7-Eleven. Just put it on a tray and then get the children to slowly add some water to it. It's got a great texture because when you apply pressure to it, it solidifies, and when you let go of the pressure, it turns into liquid again. So it's a very scientific resource, really cheap, really easy, and the children love it. Even my almost 10-year-old was asking me to make oobleck the other day. It's a really good thing to use. And open-ended toys, wooden blocks are amazing. So if you only ever have one toy in the house, this is great. Mixed with things like loose parts, and then the children can use their imagination to go wild. And another thing, I'm guilty of this. One negative aspect of serve and return interactions is us using our devices. I do it all the time. I'm a busy parent, I work. I get something through on my watch, something comes through on my phone, and I immediately check it. I'm trying to be much more present, so setting aside time where I'll go and do that sort of thing so that I can be present for the children, so that we turn interactions into these sorts of interactions rather than having our devices, which I know is very difficult. And also, if you could help us to kind of foster that independence. So getting your children involved with dinner times, for example, feeding themselves, taking risks not risks, achievable risks, so that they can kind of become brave. Helping them to know to tidy away, and things like putting on shoes and t-shirts and all of those sorts of things, which again I know is very hard, because if you're running out the door in the morning and it's taking ages to put them on, it's very easy to just do it, but it's trying to kind of give those opportunities where children can become independent too. And also to connect with us. We love hearing from you. We love having those connections with you as well, so that we know how best to support your children. In early years, we do have a communication diary. It's used more for communication in our Lion Cubs and in our pre-nursery classrooms. In nursery and reception, they'll use it maybe once or twice a week, and it's more to log kind of key events that have happened, or some reading that they've done with your child, or maybe some one-to-one maths work, for example, that they might have done. You're not dropping off in the morning and you would like to write something in the communication diary, just pass that on to the teacher so that they can kind of read and they can communicate back with you. Or obviously chat with us. You can email your child's teacher, or speak with me or Mr. Foster or Miss Noy in the office if you've got anything that you'd like to share with us. And like I said earlier on as well, with Tapestry 2, it's a really good way of two-way communication, and we love to see what your children are up to at the weekend, so please do share that with us. And that's it for me today. This time here is just the opportunity for you to ask me any questions. So if I've said anything that you're not unsure of, I do tend to speak quite fast, so I hope that that you were able to kind of understand. But I'm going to mill around here now afterwards. So if you have any questions you either want to ask me now, or you want to ask kind of while you're getting some tea or coffee, I'm really happy to answer anything that you may have, any questions you may have. Okay. Thank you so much for coming. Please do, thank you. Please do help yourselves to some tea and coffee. Come and chat to me, come and chat to each other. And yes, do let me know at any point if you have any questions at all. Thank you so much. Thank you.
When you say play, like ask what the children love to play.
Yes.
I think